The Hill McCloy cross-country teams of the fall of 1968, 1969, and 1970 are being inducted into the Montrose Hall of Fame with the Sports Award. Coach Joseph Daniels started the cross-country program and created a dynasty when his next 3 years of teams ran undefeated in league meets to become league champions for an amazing 3 consecutive years, finishing high in regional and state meets. In 1967, the superintendent of Montrose Schools, Frank McCloy, personally drove to Minnesota to recruit Joe Daniels after his recent graduation from Morehead State. Joe was the first black teacher hired to teach business education, coach JV basketball, be an assistant track coach, and start a new cross-country program. Joe double majored in health, coaching, and business. Coach Daniels was himself an accomplished athlete in cross-country and was the captain of state championship basketball teams during high school and college. In the later 60s, the country was experiencing significant racial strife, and Mr. McCloy believed the right black teacher would bring in what the high school was in dire need of. Coach Daniels provided that and more, as he never hesitated to discuss race issues with any team's members. The team understood and held Coach Daniels in high regard with the utmost respect. Coach Daniels had many discussions regarding race that resonated with team members for the rest of their lives. Coach Daniels had a vision to start a new sport of cross-country in the fall of 1967 as a club-style team. Senior John Daly was a team captain that initial year, and like his teammates, had never ran a mile before. He recalls, "We ran in second-hand basketball team jerseys and football sweats and some old shoes Coach provided that gave us shin splints. But we ran hard. Any team that ran against us had to run harder to beat us, including Ainsworth, a Class A team that we beat." Coach Daniels turned us all into genuine athletes and strong young men who would grit their teeth and keep running. We never quit and suffered through shin splints from long, hard practices. We were a new club running our hardest without a crowd to cheer us, against established teams. Most races, Coach Daniels and the bus driver were the only ones cheering us on. I heard Coach Daniels bought my most valuable runner trophy out of his own pocket because the school wouldn't pay for it since we weren't an official team. Coach brought out determination and guts in all of us. He didn't want any of us to believe what we did didn't count. Because it did count. It counted for who we were and who we would become and what we started. The word spread. At first, team members came from track teams. Then Coach encouraged wrestling and basketball teams to get into better endurance shape. A few even migrated from the football program. They came, not for their love of running, but several ended up loving the long-distance run throughout their lives. Coach Daniels said, "We started the first year of my coaching cross-country losing every meet but 2. With the support of the team, we agreed that we would put in the work necessary to keep this from happening again." With the support of parents and the school and the community, especially the tree farm for a training site with the school providing transportation, the team experienced an unexpected turnaround. In the second year of the sport, we won the Genesee County Class B title and finished 3rd in the state, only losing by 5 points. The coach had a plan. He found a great training area on Board of Education member Philip Rumbold's Christmas tree farm. That farm provided what the coach was looking for: hills, short ones and long ones. There were blocks of trees where it measured close to a 440 and one close to an 880, which was great for intervals. Halfway downhill, halfway uphill. Occasionally, on the backstretch out of sight, runners would tend to coast a little before turning the corner to head uphill for the toughest part. Coach Daniels mysteriously appeared out of nowhere, running right behind any laggards to make sure their best effort was achieved. There was the steep, sandy hill, nicknamed Hot Lunch Hill. Coach had everyone pick partners, then take turns putting that partner on their back and run up the steep sand hill. Those hill workouts resulted in dividends and provided the key to many races when the Rams would pass opponents uphill heading to the finish line. The coach did not hesitate to use his psychological expertise with one common factor throughout all 3 seasons. He had an uncanny ability to convince each runner that they could, and eventually did, improve their speed and race times beyond what they ever thought they were capable of, whether they ran in the front, the middle, or the back of the pack. Another creative tool used ropes to tie the slower runners to the fastest runners. Time trials were run, and the attached runners exceeded any time they had ever run independently, soon exceeding their personal best times. The workouts were grueling, but Coach Daniels was the first to any struggling runner to assure they were okay. The program grew as more students joined. What resulted was a very elite group of runners who mowed through the conference for 3 consecutive years, undefeated. Often, several of the Rams' runners finished before the opponent's first runner. Word of the Rams' success spread throughout Genesee County. When the Montrose cross-country team arrived at large invitationals, teams would stop their warm-ups to watch the Rams walk through the grounds to their warm-up spot. "Why is everyone staring at us, Coach?" a new team member would ask. "Because we're the team to beat," came the simple reply. After warm-ups, other teams would usually walk the course to gain familiarity, while the Rams jogged the entire course as a warm-up. Success came and trophies accumulated for winning league championships and placing in many invitationals. A teammate commented, "We were quiet champions and probably never realized how dominant and good we were." But Coach Daniels was aware. His strategy and plan worked, never losing a duel or tri-meet in 3 years. Teams would try everything they could to beat the Rams, like putting rabbits out front to draw the Rams' best out too fast and tire them out. On backwoods trails, teams would try to box out Montrose runners to slow them down, but the Rams pushed harder because they had superior training. The Rams had exceptional runners and were led by a pure, raw, elite runner named Dave Wilson, who was in a class by himself. Dave wasn't only very fast, he won early and often. Dave was rarely challenged, and it was usually by only a few Class A league runners. The Flint Journal often referred to him as the Ace. Dave was a fearless and consummate leader in so many ways, who helped all team members at some point. On a regular basis, he usually finished his workout or race, then ran back in the pack, picking a particular team member he thought needed encouragement, and ran with him to push him to finish hard. In those 3 years, Dave rarely finished behind anyone. His concern was for the team's success. Dave left all the bragging rights to his biggest fan and team cameraman, his father, who rarely missed any meets. You would see his father filming and rooting on every teammate at the finish. The epitome of Dave's success was his 3rd straight County B League Championship meet win. In 1970, Dave helped the team dominate the league when they scored just 33 points, while second place finished with 84. The Flint Journal stated, "Everyone knew Wilson was the class distance runner in the league, and he lived up to expectations." The Rams senior won his 2nd straight individual title, covering the 2.5 miles in a time of 13 minutes 9 seconds. Ken Fall placed 5th, Mike McIntosh 7th, Tim Clark 8th, and Dan Chapman placed 12th. Dave thought of Coach Daniels as his closest friend and big brother. After graduation, Dave continued to dominate races throughout the state. He not only won, but set times that were the fastest in the area. At age 33, Dave joined the Army and received some special treatment during basic training for his advanced running skills as he trained to beat the base record. Dave ran many half marathons. At age 40, Dave placed 5th at Whitehall's Channel to Channel Challenge 20K race and placed 2nd in the Masters Division in the prestigious Old Kent Riverbank 25K run, the nation's largest 25K event. That's a 5.8-mile split for 15.5 miles at age 40. Montrose Schools only had Coach Joseph Daniels for those 4 amazing years before he pursued a master's degree in counseling, then obtained a doctorate in educational psychology. Dr. Joseph Daniels worked as a professor of psychology, then later opened a clinical psychologist practice in the Chicago area. He has been married to Cynthia for the past 50 years and has 2 adult children. A few teammates still run today. Many former runners attribute the discipline and work ethic they learned under Coach Daniels to their success in life. The cross-country teams were led by some outstanding individual runners who are state qualifiers: Bruce Moss, Ken Fall, Gary Johnson, and Dave Wilson. Gary Johnson and Dave Wilson earned all-state honors. Several runners were on multiple teams during the 3 years under Coach Joe Daniels that include Mike Fikes, Benny Hitchcock, James McKenzie, Dave Moss, Ricky Seidem, Phil Whitmer, Richard Grant, Gary Johnson, Bruce Moss, Henry Nyholm, Tom Root, Dan Chapman, Art Cummings, Kenneth Fall, Maury Fikes, Randy Huber, Michael McIntosh, Steve Rinks, David Wilson, Tim Clark, Fred Gage, Bill Davis, Dan Lee, Bob Apol, Eric Baird, Bruce Klein, Walt Whitmer, Ron Johnson, Harold Johnson, Ron Sullivan, and managers Rob Bissell and Willie Brimmer. We remember the deceased runners on these 3 teams that left this earth too soon. We lost Steve Apol in 2018, Bill Todd in 2020, Mitch Huber and Charlie Lixie in 2022, Tom Pogue, Warren Tracy, and manager Greg Wilson in 2023. The legacy these 3 teams created and pioneered under Coach Dr. Joseph Daniels continued after their departure, when the Montrose Rams cross-country teams reclaimed the league title the fall of 1972 and 1973, when they placed 3rd in the state. The Montrose Sports and Community Hall of Fame congratulates the 3 consecutive league championship cross-country teams from the fall of 1968, 1969, and 1970.